This whole thing started because I wanted to take my Sims apple picking. It's autumn, I want all of the fall vibes, and what is more fall than going out and picking apples? I've only ever been apple picking once in my life, so this build was actually really fun to do. So with that, let's get into the speed build. I decided to build this in Henford-on-Bagley. I felt like that was the correct vibe for a little place where you could go and pick apples with your family, and I built it on the 14 Nettle Lane lot. It's not a huge lot, but I didn't want it to feel like this was some huge sprawling orchard. Like, I want it to feel very intentional. I'm building a main house, and I think the vibe that I was going for was that this house, like maybe whoever lived here before ran the apple orchard and maybe sold the produce off to the market, so they lived and worked here on this apple farm. But now whoever owns it, which I do have a story in mind for who owns it, has turned it into a place where you can come and visit and pick apples every fall, because in The Sims, apples are in season in the autumn, so it works out very nicely. There was a minute there where for some reason I had it in my mind that maybe apples weren't in the autumn, and I was really panicked because that was after I finished this entire build, so I had to double check, and we are all good. Apples are in season, so they don't need to be covered or anything. The vibe of this house is also something that's kind of different for me. I used a lot of this like light yellow wood color. And when I tell you that I never use these swatches, like for some reason, if I'm using a wood color, it's just never gonna be this like light yellowy orangey tone, but I think it worked so well for this build, and it put me out of my comfort zone, which I really liked. The other thing that I did in this build that I really ended up liking was this roof trim. This is the roof trim from For Rent. I don't know what caused me to want to try this, but the second that I put it on the roof, I was like, this is the vibe. I don't know, like the little scalloped edge, I thought it was really cute. So obviously it's not really intended for this kind of world, but I think it worked, and I love doing that. I love making things work like where they're not really intended. Here you can see I'm placing down the first apple trees, and I did have to bring in Bob the Builder so that I could cheat their growth stage and make them all blossoming. And we're jumping back into the inside. I put the staircase off in the back corner because my intention for this build is that the entire bottom floor is open to the public, and then there's an apartment upstairs, so you can run this lot like a small business. That is the complete intention that I had when I built this. I don't actually intend to run the small business, I want to visit. So I'm currently in the process of creating Sims who will live here, own the business, and run it, so that way I can visit with my Sims. But this whole downstairs area is gonna be like cozy, come, sit, hang out, play games, you know, so you can like spend time apple picking, and then there's other things to do on the lot. And this is also where I put the bathrooms. The color scheme for this build, you'll see I'm trying a lot of like yellows and greens and like orangey red tones. I'm trying to keep all of the colors like apple themed. I did that with the tile in this floor. I think it actually looked really cute. The bathrooms are nothing special. They've got a couple little bits and bobs here and there. I threw in a plant, and then I remembered this art piece with the apple and the pear that I almost never use. I was like, hey, this is perfect. And that's kind of a theme for this build. I actually discovered so many fun little apple themed items that I kind of didn't know existed. That was really enjoyable. I love when that happens when I'm doing a really specific build and you start discovering things that you never knew existed, or things that you see all the time and you think, I'm never gonna use that, and then you finally get to use it for something. I love that. You can see I'm putting in some fencing, so I decided that the entire orchard part was gonna be on the right side of the build, so I'm going to absolutely fill that fenced in area with apple trees. The other side is where other activities are gonna be. I know that apple picking in real life is like an all-day endeavor. Like, you probably go for an entire morning or entire afternoon and you spend the whole time apple picking. But then there's always other things to do, like maybe there's activities or there's a market where you can go and purchase like apple themed things. So I wanted to kind of give that energy, less market and more activities. Like I wanted this to feel like a place where you could come with your Sims and truly spend all day here. You can see I just put in all of the trees. That did take forever. And here we're bouncing back inside. You can see my ADHD is really carrying this build. I put in just like a tiny little entryway. So this is private. This is residential only in this little entry. So no one can get upstairs. I threw in the little bench from the Grange mudroom kit. Now we're moving upstairs. And I actually kind of struggled with this. This is like the apartment section of the home. So I like to think that whoever bought the farm just converted the second floor to a little mini apartment. I struggled with the floor plan so bad. In fact, I cut out probably like 15 straight minutes of me trying to work in 2 bedrooms up here. And ultimately, I was like, it's just too small. You can't really have like a big family own this lot and run this small business. So instead, the story that I came up with in my head to justify the fact that I could only fit 1 bedroom was that it's an old, like retired elderly couple who has owned this forever. Maybe they even owned the orchard back when it was still like, you know, making produce and they were selling it to the market and it was like their job, their career. Now they've decided that they want to open it to the public. So they converted this top floor. It's their own little apartment now and they have guests come and visit the lot. So I think that's kind of a cute storyline. And it also makes up for the fact that there's literally no place to put anyone else. I'm just starting to toss in some furniture. At this point, I didn't really know what vibes I was going for, but ultimately I did kind of decide I want lots of like light colors, like I said, the greens and the yellows. I used this same wood tone in the kitchen. These are the counters from Parenthood. They're my actual favorite counters in this game. I love them so much. I almost never use this swatch though because this wood color, it's just so specific, but I really went crazy with this build. You'll see that all of the wood in this game is that yellowy color and I actually think it works really well. For the bathroom, you can see I just kind of copied the tile from before. This I also think is realistic. Like if they did a huge remodel, like they're gonna be using the same stuff downstairs and upstairs. You can see I also placed that little apple crate. I don't know where I ended up keeping it once this is done, but I was like, again, another thing that I never use, but it's so perfect for this build. Like this couple is reusing the crates from their business. And I kind of liked that same energy. So that's why I used the Eco Lifestyle chair that has like the burlap. It looks like it's made from like a burlap bag. That's kind of the intention that I was going for. Like they repurposed one of the apple burlap bags into a chair. I don't know. You can tell I was really like contriving these stories to justify what was happening up here. I was also able to fit a full dining table up here. I loved that I was able to put this. Normally for a space where it's just 2 Sims, I would not bother with a full like 6-person dining table. But because the Sims who live here are elderly in my head, I was like, maybe we need a place where when the family comes to visit, the grandkids, they can all sit around a table and enjoy a nice meal. And then you can see I'm breaking out that tool mod to make things work for the sizing of this space. And then I use that little apple picture again. And then of course, the bowl with apples in it. This is from the Cozy Kitsch kit. It's one of my favorite items in the game. I use it all the time, but here I was like, this is truly perfection. I was so pleasantly surprised with the amount of like apple themed things we had in the game. This layout in the corner is a little bit odd because I have a chair that's kind of directly in front of the little TV space that I'm about to put in. And this is, I know like in real life, this would not work really because someone would be literally blocking the TV and it's so far off to the side. But in the game, the Sims don't really care. They'll watch the TV from anywhere and sit anywhere. And I really like having it for gameplay, especially for some of the events like the season TV premiere, and for New Year's Eve, you want to be able to watch the countdown. So I threw it in and I absolutely loved the little forest picture. This is from the reward event, the login reward event. Which one was it? God, I think it was the Christmas one that they did. They've done so many that they really are starting to blur together, and some were better than others. The Christmas event wasn't my favorite, I'm not gonna lie, but I really do love that they gave us a frame TV in the base game, because previously the only frame TVs were from kits, which is kind of annoying. So I thought that that one worked really perfect in this space. Here you can just see I'm cluttering these open shelves. I really have been using the kitchen clutter kit in every build, like really truly in every build. When I got it, I obviously thought it was super cute, but I didn't really think anything of it. Like, I didn't think that I would end up loving it as much as I do. Things like that kitchen scale and the little cookie jar are so precious. They fit in like every build. I love it. I also love that they actually attached some gameplay to some of these items. They've never really done that for kits before, other than like, you know, a TV. Like, of course the TV has gameplay attached, but things like the cookie jar and the cereal box, being able to quickly grab a little something just by clicking on it. I thought that that was so simple, but just like life altering for the game, you know, because it makes these items feel like they actually have life, you know? Same thing with that little tote bag full of groceries. You can actually purchase groceries through that. I play with the simple living lot trait pretty much in every one of my builds, just because I think it adds a touch of realism. It's not too difficult to use. It's not like the challenge is gonna make the game so much harder, but I do like using that lot challenge. So to have the little tote bag where you can just buy a couple groceries, it's so nice. I use it all the time. Here we moved into the bedroom, and you can see that I'm using the Grange mudroom kit again as like a little mini closet system. That has absolutely been a sleeper for that kit. Obviously all the stuff works for a mudroom super well. Duh, we've seen it in action, and that was the intention of the kit, but I was really pleasantly surprised by how much I'm able to fit these into bedrooms or hallways or laundry rooms. Like, these little cabinets just work so well, and they're really pretty. Obviously, they're so well done. I love that we can pair the tall closed cabinet with the open cabinet. You can see that I'm like alt placing and cluttering them up just a little bit. I think it looks so good in the end. I'm keeping this bedroom ultra simple. I am just throwing in a mirror, and then I scoured through like all of the art in the game, but I just really felt like nothing was working. I also feel like I have used all of the same art pieces over and over and over again, that I'm a little sick of a lot of them, to be honest. I ended up just going with a plant, and I think it looks very cute. If this is an elderly couple, you know they've got plants in every corner. I'm just throwing together the bathroom. I'm keeping it ultra simple. For their personal bathroom, I threw a couple pieces of clutter on the sink. I never really do that. I always kind of skimp out on the bathrooms. I don't put as much effort in as I probably could. And with the bathroom clutter kit, it's so easy to just like throw a couple things in and suddenly the bathroom looks lived in, like Sims actually live there and use it every day. I put in these little hanging sconces. They were a bit of a wild choice for me. They're from high school years, so they've got kind of that Art Deco vibe, but I think they look really cute. And then I did my favorite open shelving trick. I took the little picture light thing. I think it's a career unlock. If you unlock it with bb.ignore gameplay unlocks entitlement, then you have access to those little lights. And what I do is I size them down and I place them under the shelves. So it looks like there's built-in shelf lighting, and it adds a really nice glow to the kitchen, especially at night. For this little patio, I tossed 2 little benches up there and then a couple of planters. I ended up filling them in with some of the lavender bushes from Debug. I think they look really nice and simple. I didn't want it to feel too cluttered. You can absolutely delete those and then plant actual plants in there if you'd like. I think that would work really well for the storyline of like this couple having, you know, their own crops and stuff. But for now, we've got the lavender. I think it looks cute. We've now moved on to the downstairs area. And like I said before, the vibe that I was going for was that this is a place where you can come and sit and spend some time indoors after apple picking or if you need a break. I put in just a couple of sofas. Again, I used that yellow color. These are from Horse Ranch. I've never used that yellow swatch before, but I thought it looked really pretty inside. You can see I used that apple crate again. I think it looks so cute. And then I put in a couple of games tables. I did a piano as well. And then you can see I had to bring back the apple bowl. It needed a place down here as well. I swapped out the lamp. This was my first time playing after the update that we just got. So I had to switch it out for the new lamp. It's so pretty and it's nice and big. Like it takes up a lot of space. Here, I'm gonna try about 5 different art pieces again before finally finding one that I think fit the vibe. I ended up just going for this little base game print with a big open field, very farm coded, very ranch. I wanted your Sims to be able to play music inside, so I added this sweet little record player on just this little side table credenza. And then I once again had to include the little apple picture. What you're seeing me do here with the lamp is a trick. So if you want to put your item in a very specific spot, just move the lamp where you want it. That way, when you scoot the table out of the way, you can move the item right where the lamp is and then just delete the lamp, and it's like a little placeholder. I do that sometimes with coffee tables as well, because when you move the coffee table, it's like you don't remember exactly where you want your items to be alt placed. So that's a fun little trick. It takes 2 seconds. It's super easy. You can see I put in a little bit of a pond. I thought that this was cute, not only for the vibes, but if you bring your family here, you can like look for frogs and stuff. I felt like that fit the vibes a little bit as well. Might be a stretch, but it filled in this little front corner like perfectly. And I like the idea that there's like an old pond out front of this house. I'm going in for some more landscaping here and there. I added in a little tree just in the back. I had randomly placed these trees where I thought it might work, and they all ended up working nicely, so I kept them where they were. I added in that really sweet little fire pit. This is actually the one from Riviera Retreat. If you don't have that kit, then you could easily replace it with literally any other fire pit in the game. I kind of just liked that it was in like a metal basin. I didn't really like the way that the ones looked with, you know, the rocks just on the ground, although it would totally fit the vibe. If that's all you have, it would absolutely work. I just liked the way that this one looked. And then to make it feel a little bit more rustic, I added those like log benches with it. Now I'm going around and again, I am just throwing in as many bushes and flowers as I can. I ended up using the orange poppies from Life and Death all over the place, and I felt like that really fit the color scheme, and it added a nice little pop in the landscaping. I feel like it was looking very one note before with just the bushes and then just the bushes with those little pale flowers. So I love the little orange poppies. And then my filler that I used was actually these little daisies. I've never really done this where I use these little tiny flowers as the filler that kind of blends everything in, but it worked so nice, and I think it just makes the place feel really magical. And then not only that, but it ties in the white flowers on the arches above the gates. The arches are actually wedding arches, but I could not help myself from using them above the gate with the little string lights and the flowers. They looked so good, and it kind of makes the gates just look a little bit more prominent and a little bit more intentional. So I went with it. I'm doing terrain paint now. This took me a hot little minute, as you can imagine, because I had to put terrain paint under every single little tree to make it look like the dirt was blending in a little bit more. I added some of the little stone terrain paint under the fire pit area just to make it feel like it's an intentional spot, like it's been there for a while. And I added some underneath the little picnic tables as well. I think that area actually turned out so perfect. I put in the little barbecue, and then I just put in 3 picnic benches. So while you're here, you can like make yourself lunch. Now I'm adding in some detail in the orchard. I feel like it was looking a little one note, and I rediscovered this little bucket of apples. When I tell you how excited I was when I found this item, this is from the Country Kitchen Kit. I never notice it. I think this item lives in the statues category, so I almost never see it. But when I saw it and I clicked through the swatches and discovered that there was an apple swatch, I was so thrilled. I put it everywhere. This little bucket is truly everywhere. It's in the apple orchard. It's by the picnic tables. It's on the front steps. It was truly a dream. I added in some beekeeping little things here and there as well. I felt like that fit. Oh, there's the little bucket again. And with that, I think we're just about done. I am going to jump into my game really quick and give you one final tour, and then I'll also talk about how to set up the small business if you would like to play with this. I built it right up here. This is the 14 Nettle Lane lot in Henford on Bagley. So this is what the lot looks like as a whole. You can see we've got the apple orchard part on this side. I absolutely love the little details of the buckets of apples. Right in the front, I did put the little kiosk because this is a small business, so I do want to pay when I come and visit here with my Sims. I put in this sweet little picnic area. Again, you can bring your own food, or you can make a little something here if you're spending lunchtime here or the evening. We've got the absolute sweetest little fire pit area. I put a couple of the little bee boxes back here. I thought that was cute. If you choose to play and run the small business, I thought that that was just like a little sweet touch to have on the lot. This is our little pond area. I just put in a little bench, again with the apple bucket. I had to. I was so excited. This is the house itself. I think it turned out so sweet. So you come in, again, you've got a really nice little living space where you can come and just sit and hang out when you're in between apple picking. I have 2 bathrooms. They're pretty much identical, and the piano's clipping into the wall, so if you download it, I'm sorry. I put in a bunch of activities. So like I said, there's a piano. There's also 2 games table. You can see when I was playtesting, they already started a puzzle. I think that's adorable. In this corner, this is the entrance into the apartment. So I put in this little door with the windows. I thought that looked really sweet. And then I kept this really simple. So there's just a little bench, the little hooks with the hat and the jacket. Your mailbox is also in here. When you come upstairs, this is just a little overview of the whole apartment. So we've got the kitchen right here. It's not ultra big, but it functions, and I actually love the way all of this clutter turned out, although, oh my god, I forgot to change the look of these books. Oh my god, not me finding all these little tiny things. The living room is over here. Oh my god, and I forgot to scoot this lamp back. You guys, I don't know where my head was at when I was finishing this build, because this is crazy. Here is that big dining space. And then of course we've got the 1 bedroom. I think this little cluttered shelf turned out so stinking cute. Oh my gosh, I forgot a freaking plant here. You guys, I do not know what happened. The other thing that I did want to point out, if you download this lot and would like to plan it, there is technically an entire upper story. I didn't utilize this because I didn't want to fiddle with where to put the staircase, but you easily could utilize this space and fit 2 other bedrooms, another bathroom. So if you've got a bigger family and you want them to run the apple picking farm, there is space to grow. I just didn't make it happen in this build. For the small business, this is what I decided to select. You, of course, can change any of these things out, but I decided to go with campfire fall activities, which actually includes a couple things. Your Sims will play in the mud puddles and leaf piles. I did tend and harvest gardens, so hopefully your Sims will actually pick the apples. I did look for frogs and then play table games. Like I said, you can switch up any of these things. I also think that if you have like the horseshoes from Outdoor Retreat, that would be so fun to put on this lot. I hope you enjoyed this fun little fall build. I've been on such a businesses and hobbies kick recently. I don't know what it is. I'm just having the best time coming up with these fun little unique things for your Sims to go and do, or things for your Sims to run. I am sorry for all of the weird little mistakes. It is definitely on the gallery like that. So, you know, if you decide to download this build, let me know. Are you going to play as the business owner, or will you set the business up and then come visit with your Sims? I'm curious. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed already. If you have not, then please do consider. And with that, I will catch you in my next one. Bye. Y'all, I gotta say, doing this fall build kind of made me sad because I am sitting here sweating. We are a full week into November and it is 90 degrees outside. I just want it to be fall.